Good morning, guys. Today we have a special treat. We're going to do an install of an AEV snorkel on the ZR2 Overland build. So let's get started.
The AEV system comes complete with hardware, brackets, hose clamps, online instructions, a template, and the snorkel. You're going to need various drill bits, assortment of wrenches, and some power tools. You're also going to need a rivet gun for the provided rivets. And don't forget, you need to remove your front tire as well. Let's start off by cutting out the template. It's important that you follow along the line because this is going to ensure that the alignment for the snorkel is dead on. So take your time. Now, secure the template to the truck. You can use any type of tape you want. So painter's tape, clear tape, doesn't matter. Start drilling your holes. There's no turning back now. Here I'm using the Ryobi multi-tool to connect the circles. Once you remove the metal, this allows for the overall opening to allow the snorkel to be installed in the fender. This tool seemed to work just fine. There are other methods that you could use. Some people have used a Dremel, some people use a panel saw. The choice is yours. This seemed to work just fine for what I had to do. Now, don't forget to paint all the edges of raw metal. This will prevent rust and corrosion. Do the same thing after you drill the holes for your A-pillar. I just put some Rust-Oleum in the paint cap, used a Q-tip, and painted both the edge and the backside to make sure that no rust could start from behind the fender well. Okay, now it's time to start working in the wheel well area. First, start off by removing the wheel. Next, remove all the nuts to remove the splash guard from the wheel well. With a gentle and consistent pressure, pull away the fender flare. Next, you're going to want to remove these two bolts that hold on the lower edge of the fender. They're 10 millimeter. They may have some undercoating on there and some paint, so just scrape some off if you need to. On the inside of the fender, there's some sound deadening material. It's held in with a little plastic clip. You'll just pop that clip off. The felt will come off. And the point where it was attached, right here is the bolt. You'll loosen that up so you can pull the fender away. Next step is to pull gently on this fender brace, and it'll pop out of the chassis here. And then you'll have to gently pull it away from the fender here. Make sure that you don't use any type of tools because you could dent or damage the outside finish of the fender.
Okay, now to continue on with the AEV snorkel install. Once you've cut your fender and it's disconnected from the chassis, you can see about how much room you need down here. Now we're going to dry fit the snorkel by inserting it into the hole and turning it as it goes in. And if you cut your hole perfectly, it should have a perfect fit. AEV has done a great job at designing this snorkel, and you too can install it at home, trust me. Good stuff. Okay, so now it's time to move under the hood. We're going to go ahead and remove the air filter, air cleaner box. We need to remove this hose clamp. We do not need to remove the mass airflow sensor connection. Once we get that all removed, we'll have access to our final cut to install the snorkel. Simply remove these two bolts after you've taken out the air filter and remove the hose clamp. Now that you have your air cleaner box out of the truck, now's a good time. Pro tip, remove any miscellaneous debris that's in the bottom of the box. Okay, so this is the area inside the fender that you need to cut out. This is not the seal to the air box. This is just a pass-through area of the fender.
So I know a lot of you probably think like, why would you cut this out? Well, in order to fit that snorkel all the way in, you would definitely have to disassemble all of the components of the fender and pretty much remove it all the way off the truck. This is a time saver, and this is pretty much the way it's done. Now, if you want to use a drill bit and drill this corner and then just make a couple little cuts, certainly do that. I think that's probably what I will do. And so that's the cut. 2 holes on the corners and a straight cut across. Once you've verified that the snorkel fits in the hole you cut through the chassis, you're going to want to install the supplied nutsert in this hole. You're going to need a 10mm and a 9/16, and it is supplied with an insertion tool. Okay, so now we have the snorkel tube installed through the chassis and into the engine compartment. We want to make sure that we install the bracket and the hardware to secure this part of the tube in place. You also want to make sure that your foam bumper stop is installed on the snorkel and in place. Now you can slip your snorkel in and verify fitment. You also want to make sure that you have the hose clamp installed so that you can run that down and then tighten it all up. Now what you want to do is measure and mark for the snorkel mount to the A-pillar. So here with the snorkel fitted, pretty much, I'm just going to line it up with the A-pillar. I installed the bracket on these 2 screws, and then all I did was make 2 light pencil marks. I'll put the bracket back in place and mark for the rivets. Okay, so here are the holes. I marked them with a Sharpie, drilled them with the appropriate bit. Now we're going to go ahead and install the rivets. Okay, after we got the rivets done, the hose clamp is installed, the pieces are joined underneath. We have to install the 2 10mm nuts that are actually going to secure the snorkel to the fender. Okay, so we got our Loctite on. Now what we're going to do is reach in behind here, install these by hand, and then do a final torque with a 10mm. Snorkel is firmly attached to the fender. The upper hole that you drill and the middle hole that you drill on this side are for 2 bolts that pull it tight to the fender. Now I will say this, now this might be hard for me to videotape, but bear with me. I'll sneak in here. And that bolt right there is the hardest bolt to reach. I'm telling you guys, it is a pain. Just be patient, take your time, everything's gonna work out, and you'll be extremely happy with the overall fit and finish. Everybody, so that's a wrap on today's episode. The AEV snorkel is installed. It looks fantastic. Look, I know this snorkel's not new. It's been around for a year or 2 now. I'm just now getting around to installing it. I'm just a guy in his garage having some fun, doing some mods to his truck. And if you have a friend who's got a ZR2, or maybe you have a ZR2 and you've been considering this installation, it's certainly something you can do. Basic hand tools is all you need, and a little bit of nerves to cut into that beautiful body. You'll be just fine. It's easy, and the end result is pretty damn awesome. So thanks for watching. This is David from Trail Adventures USA. Have a great one.